Hello and welcome back to another Minecraft Dungeons video. Today, I'm going to be showing you a build that I made called the Militant Monarch. This tank build uses equipment that makes it easier to survive. Now, let's get into what items this build uses. First off, for my weapon, I have the broadsword. So the broadsword is going to deal about 750,000 to 1,300,000 base damage, and it has built-in powerful pushback and tier 1 sharpness for extra damage. I have level 3 echo as my gilded enchantment. As for my base enchantments, I have critical hit, weakening, and void strike. Critical hit is there so that I can hopefully one-shot most mobs and deal even more damage. Weakening is there so that enemies deal even less damage to me on top of all my enchantments on my armor. And then void strike is for dealing with the more powerful mobs and bosses. Next, for my armor, I have the stalwart armor. Built in, this armor has 3 million HP, 35% damage reduction, 30% chance to negate damage, a 100% longer roll cooldown, and potion barrier. For the gilded enchantment, I have level 3 cowardice. As for my normal enchantments, I have chilling, cooldown, and snowball. I have chilling because it will make mobs attack me less often because they will be slowed. Cooldown is so that I can keep most of my artifacts often and use some of the other ones more often. And then snowball will help me stun more powerful mobs so that they attack me less. Following that, for my bow, I am using the Doom crossbow. So this bow is going to deal about 1 million damage per hit with powerful shots and knockback. For my enchantments, I have power, chain reaction, and multi-shot. Power is to deal a little bit extra damage. Since this is a crossbow, you don't have to charge it, so multi-shot and chain reaction will help me hit more enemies more often. And this crossbow should one-shot lower tier enemies. Finally, for my artifacts, I have the Death Cap Mushroom for increased attack and movement speed. I have the Wind Horn so that I can knock back some enemies. And finally, I have the Ironhide Amulet so that I am even more tanky. And of course, I have a Gong of Weakening in my inventory for more difficult enemies and bosses. So for first hit with the broadsword, we are dealing about 3 million and then 5 million damage there. Void Strike is going to make us do even more, 6 million, 3 million, 7 million. On a crit with the last hit as well, we should deal upwards of 12 million damage. And you can see Echo activating very often, which will be nice for clearing bigger groups of enemies since we attack pretty slow. And I'm definitely doing enough damage to one-shot most mobs, even higher tier enchanted mobs. And if I activate the mushroom, I'll attack even more quickly. Very noticeable difference. And this should really help me keep moving while attacking. The Windhorn, of course, won't do anything to this training dummy, but it should knock back other mobs. And that should help with my crowd control, even though this broadsword already has a big radius. As for the crossbow, in one shot we are doing about 1,700,000 damage, and you saw chain reaction and multi-shot. And there will be no difference in damage here, but it's still a noticeable amount. And multi-shot will be really helpful since we're shooting fairly quickly and dealing a lot of damage. So that's all the equipment for this build showcased, so let me go ahead and load into a level so that you can see how it performs. Alright, so I've gone ahead and loaded into high block halls on the max difficulty, so let's see how we do. Got some enchanted mobs here. Weakening is applying to all these guys. I'm one-shotting most of the lower tier mobs when I do my overhead hit. I do not have any other form of healing, so I'll have to be a little more careful and use my potion sparingly. And I do have potion barrier, so it's going to be nice to use in tricky situations. Activate Ironhide and then here. Use Windhorn to stun. I'm going to use my potion. Yeah, none of these mobs are really giving me any trouble, even the enchanted ones. This is typically a pretty hard level, so it'll be nice if I can get through it without any deaths. to be careful to activate my Iron Hide amulet too, just because I can always keep it up because of the one stage of cooldown, or one cooldown enchantment I should say. It is level 3. The only thing I should probably worry about a bit is if I run into any mobs with thorns, because they could be a little tricky to deal with, just because I'm dealing a lot of damage. But if I activate my potion and use potion barrier, I should be okay. Pretty easy so far, nothing is giving me trouble. The mobs aren't dealing too much damage to me, especially because I'm negating a lot of their hits because of my 30% chance to block it. And then the damage reduction on this armor is really good too. So it's hardly noticeable when the smaller enemies hit me. I think there's quite a few waves here, so it might take a bit. Not too worried. If I start getting overwhelmed, just activate my potion. Windhorn also has a bit of a longer cooldown than I remember. Thought it was a bit faster, but it's fine. And as long as I can hit all these mobs and apply the weakening, they won't really be able to do anything to me. And I should be able to keep Cowardice up too, and deal even more damage. So for the remainder of this stage, I'm going to leave you guys with a short little compilation of me going throughout the level. Now, this build actually performed very well. All these survivability enchantments on it worked really nice together, and there was never a point where I really felt that I was gonna die. Especially because in those tricky parts where I was getting swarmed, I could just activate my potion and freely attack without really worrying about the damage I was taking because of potion barrier, iron hide, and everything built into the armor. I also think the Windhorn was helpful for stunning big groups, like I could roll in, use the Windhorn, and then quickly get out and attack individual mobs that were more powerful, especially the enchanted ones. And I could do the same for ranged mobs in cases where I couldn't get too close to them. The crossbow was very good, knockback was helpful, and it was one-shotting pretty much most mobs. I could apply some Void Strike with the broadsword, to some of the stronger mobs and deal upwards of 6 million damage per shot with the crossbow, which was pretty good. And then the multi-shot, and it seemed like there were some piercing elements to it. I don't know if that's built into the crossbow with the greater damage it said, but I'm not sure. But overall, it was really helpful for attacking some of the mobs that I didn't want to go out of my way to get. I'd say that this build is definitely one of the better ones I've made, especially because it's not too themed, it's more themed around being tanky, which is always going to be very good. And all the enchantments I chose are ones that are normally used with meta sets, especially in the case of this armor because the stalwart armor can be very good, along with the broadsword just because of its base damage. And to end off this video, if you guys enjoyed this build, make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.